Reports are that transaction count has dropped about 70% in Los Angeles. So that's a bigger drop. So we talk about the quality of San Luis Obispo and why it's so strong. Same thing with pricing. They've seen drops in pricing. We haven't seen very much.
Are we bubble wrapped when it comes to less volatility in the real estate market compared to other places in California and the rest of the country? The numbers sure seem to indicate it. In this episode of the SLO County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Sweasey, the crew breaks down not only some December 2022 numbers, but also gives some insight into what happened over the last 12 months and what to expect as we move forward with continuing inventory challenges and some of the unnecessary fears that buyers and sellers may have. If real estate is about location, then shouldn't it focus on where you live or want to live? Time to turn off the cable news naysayers and get your SLO County real estate information from the source. The SLO County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Sweasey. Here's your host, James Bueno.
We are back. Hal, how you doing, sir?
I'm great. Happy New Year, James.
We have these two young gentlemen back with us. The band is back together, Mr. JT and Mr. J. Pete. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing great.
Awesome. Are you kidding me? I get to hang out with you guys.
Jay, how was your holiday?
Indulgent. So many events. It was. Yeah. I mean, I feel blessed to have that many people invite me to parties, but it was a lot of fun. Well, a lot of fun. I'm glad to get back after it here in January.
I have a very important question for you.
You helped the GDP?
Yes, I absolutely did.
Yeah.
What was the best holiday party that you went to?
You know what? There was an event I went to at a hotel right downtown Pismo that was super fun.
Yeah.
What was the power went out? It was super exciting.
Yeah.
These
good
storms.
time. Great food.
Great
libations. The company was phenomenal. It was a pretty good event. Wait. I think you threw that party.
I think we did.
Yeah.
That was Hal.
Yeah, that was Hal.
Yeah.
James, put it on. The reason it was fun is because of James.
Yeah, it's easy for me to spend Hal's money. So JT and I actually like to do that. JT does that.
I'm really good at that.
Yeah. JT, what about your holidays? Anything fun you want to share with everybody?
The best party I attended was, in addition to the Team Sweasey party, was just having my granddaughter. She lives in Seattle. She's 2 years old. Having her for Christmas. Awesome.
Always a blast. Always a blast. Mr. Sweasey, you want to share anything?
Yeah, no, my two boys were home. It was a blast. My father lives close by, so he was over, and my sister-in-law. We had a great time. And I did enjoy the Keller Williams Company party, my first, and that's a fun culture. I'll tell you what.
It is.
Yeah.
I was there.
So many guys could put me on their shoulders and dance.
That was a really good time.
Yeah. We have some strong, agents and spouses of agents. Yeah.
We definitely like to let loose. That's for sure. So we're back. We're ready to roll. It is a new year, January 2023. Oh my gosh, it went by so fast.
I know.
That means what? We need to do a market update. So Hal, let's get rolling.
Are we gonna have fun today with this?
JT and Jay's here. Absolutely. We're gonna have some.
If we don't have fun, I'm leaving.
I know.
Wait, if you're JT and you're JP, can I be JZ? No.
Hey, let's talk about some real estate.
There you go. All right.
Yeah,
so
fun.
Okay. Go ahead. Let's do it.
So it's fun in our business because it can be very emotional, right? There's highs and lows. The house is going to sell. My escrow is going through. My loan to change. So there's a lot of highs and lows, and everybody responds differently. And we called them really extreme mood swings, but there's a technical term for it. And I'm not trying to make light of anything, but we just kind of call it. Maybe they're bipolar. So I'm sorry, we're having fun. Anyway, so this year I would call it bipolar. I mean, what happened in the first 3 to 4 months of this year? Unprecedented. And then such a rapid slowdown with all the interest rate increases that we had. When did they start? February, March?
Yeah. It really in March. Everything started to change.
Yeah.
March is a pivotal month. I mean, when COVID hit, it was like March. Things started to shut down 2 years ago, and then the market went nuts for us. I think there was a frenzy in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, let's get this house locked. Lock our loan. Let's accelerate the escrow process.
Yep.
And then people were thinking, holy smokes! But then we started to see buyers just start to basically evaporate because what they could qualify for at 3%, they could no longer qualify for at 4.5%, 5%, 6%. Now we're like floating at mid 6s, 7s.
So we notice when things change, people get nervous. When gas prices go way up, they change. When the real estate market changes, people get nervous. We notice the stabilization kind of happen where it's like, okay, well, this is the rate I need to buy a house now.
This is the new norm.
Yeah, this is what it is. So we've adjusted to it. Strong seller's market at the beginning. Now, what we're going to call it more of a normal market. So we're seeing a cross section of buyers and sellers. But if we look at the overall stats, year over year is a tough comparison to make in that year because it was so crazy last December. So our inventory is up. it went from about 130 homes in 2021 at the end of the year, which is a record low. I mean, usually December, November is kind of a low inventory month. People take their homes off the market. So we went up to 238, over 100% increase. So if you want sensationalism, over 100%.
Yeah, let's go mainstream media.
Yeah.
Over 100% increase.
Yeah, I can't see that anymore. So 120. However, 288 houses for sale in a county with, 250,000 people.
And that's the entire county.
Yeah, I know.
How, what would you consider normal for inventory?
Gosh, it's just gone down so much over the years. But I mean, I remember what I considered a normal market in the 90s, and we had 400 or 500 homes in San Luis Obispo. It's, we're probably a third of.
Yeah, I would say
a third.
400 to 600 in the county is probably. If we had 600 listings, it would be I think a normalized market, and that's probably what we saw on average. As I'm breaking down, like there's usually a couple hundred in North County, 50 or 60 in San Luis proper, 150 in South County, another 45, 50 on the coast, in a normal year.
Sometimes we look back at these numbers, we got them and go, oh my gosh, So yeah, it's low.
Can I give you some perspective?
Yeah,
absolutely.
May, just a couple months after COVID hit, I looked and it just stuck in my brain. May, 880 in the county, May of 2020. 600 properties below what we were in May of 2020. That's a big number.
Here's the thing you read about the market slowing down is the number of sales. We went from crazy to more normalized. So we're down from 210 closed last December, which was, I remember last December, that was a feeding frenzy. It was great for owners and properties. And look at that, 210 sold, but only 130 were active. That tells you what kind of market that was, right?
So now we got sold that came on.
Yeah, so now we got 288 on the market, but we had 122 sell. So the number of sales is down about 40%.
And we're building some inventory. Yeah, but how many days, what's the average days on market? Like it's still
less than a month.
Yeah, it's still a seller's market.
Yeah, it's greater than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
The difference between 19 days and 30 days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because people talk about the market, and we've said this before, but San Luis is different than Paso on a given day.
Yeah.
Neighborhoods are different. But one of the speakers and persons that I've been following for my 30 plus years talks about, hey, reports are that transaction count has dropped about 70% in Los Angeles. So that's a bigger drop. So we talk about the quality of San Luis Obispo and why it's so strong. He has an office in Las Vegas. They've got 55% fewer sales, right? And then some of the other places are not so bad. We would be one of those. And then same thing with pricing. They've seen drops in pricing. We haven't seen very much. So here's one more fun thing. We had 70 homes come on the market in December, but 122 closed and went away. So we still have a lean inventory. The home builders have pulled back, and even home sellers are pulling back, which is going to keep our inventory limited. So part of what we talk about is, okay, what happened? We had the shift. That's what happened, right? Mm-hmm. And what do we think is going to happen? And John, I know your New Year's resolutions is to make predictions every day about the market. So I want to hold you to that, and here's your chance.
Because I want to be told I was wrong.
Yes.
And everybody's waiting to tell me I was wrong.
Yeah.
So my predictions are if predictions. If inventory goes up substantially in today's current interest rate environment, then what are we going to see happen to prices?
Yeah, they can soften.
They're going to soften a little.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, that's just it's economics 101. Go up to Cal Poly, take a class, your first class in economics, and that's what you'll learn: supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Now, if interest rates that are 7 today,
they're in the high sixes. Yeah. We're projecting to before they correct to be in mid sevens.
Yeah, and so what happens if we wake up one morning in 2023 and they're 5? What's going to happen in the marketplace?
You'll have every guy and gal that was on the fence that couldn't qualify at 7 jumping in the game.
And what will that do to prices?
It's going to drive them up because the demand's going to be higher. Yeah. Again, fundamental economics.
So
it'll mean more people will buy. I also think it might mean more people will sell.
Sure.
Because the difference between giving up 3% and going to 6.5 or 7 versus 5, not as bad, right? So that could loosen up it'd be great for us that, help buyers and sellers because there'll be a lot more of them.
We're seeing a lot of seller concessions, like coming in and helping the buyer with a rate buy down. And, because it's 6.5%, 7%, they're having to buy down rates to help the buyer get in. And at 5%, that won't need to happen.
Well, here's the funny thing, right? Is the market, has it balanced out? First January, February, what were some of the big jumps in up bids in terms of price? 100 grand?
Oh, you're talking
in terms of overbids. Yeah, January last year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
100? 200?
In the higher property values, I think the biggest increase I saw was a $1.8 million property went for $300,000 over asking.
Yeah. So I had one at
Wow.
$950. We sold for over $1.2 million.
Well, there's it.
So and we had one in Morro Bay went $400 over asking.
Wow.
So
it's crazy.
So you saw that buyers had to go up that much.
Sure.
Have you seen any sellers take that kind of, I'll make that big of an adjustment?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So somebody sent me one of those little funny memes. It's like, okay, do I want to pay $100 over asking price at 3%? Or pay a reasonable price at 50,000, maybe under, and pay 6%.
Yeah,
right.
Well, you can always refinance.
Yeah,
you only get one shot to buy.
Real estate is local. What's the old saying? Location, location, location. Right. So I just looked at some of the communities in the county, and I was somewhat surprised. But as you point out, Hal, using median price can throw off some numbers, right?
Why does it throw off the numbers?
You're the expert. You tell me.
Well, recently we've sold a lot of high $1 million, $2 million houses, and the 500 and 600,000 aren't selling as much. So if that continues, so you have several homes selling at multi-million-dollar prices, the high end, and the low end isn't moving, what does that do to your median price? It takes it through the roof. Does that mean your house went down in value or went up in value? Not necessarily. So it's a little bit deceiving. Over time, it makes sense. But if in general, the median price in Paso is the same as the median price in San Luis Obispo, does that mean you get the same house? If you go to Paso for $750, you're going to get a different house than you get in San Luis, for example, right? So that's why that number is kind of confusing.
When I look at that, I break it down into the microclimate. South County is a microclimate. San Luis, and I'll pull Avila into that.
Sure.
Scenic Coast, Los Osos Morro Bay, Cayucas, Cambria, I'll bring Cambria into that. And then North County, anything above over the grade, from Santa Margarita to San Miguel. All those areas are kind of like, that's about as micro as I'll go. Mm-hmm. But, if you're a steward and you're really looking at a specific area, maybe a Tascadero specific is what you're looking for. And Tascadero West Side, like what's the median there?
Right.
But I think that's where you really get, and not to mention names, but there's aggregators out there. An aggregator just scrapes the internet for data and then provides it to you as a consumer, hoping that you'll call them so they can sell your information to a real estate professional, because they're not real estate professionals, they're marketing companies. And if I can impart anything upon the people that are listening, like reach out to a real estate professional, reach out to the Hal Sweasey team, let them give you the median price and the microclimate that you are wanting to look into buying or selling, because that's where you're going to get an accurate number. The statistics that come out nationally, even the broad sort of approach that come out in newsletters, can be misleading. And let's be honest, the news press wants to be sensational. And so they put all these crazy statements out there to capture your attention. And when you dig into it, you're like, probably foreclosures are up 100% in San Luis Obispo. We went from 1 to 2.
Right.
Like, wow, okay. That's sensational, but seriously.
Quick question on what you'd said, Hal, about selling the more high-end houses. Like you guys have been dealing with more of those transactions lately. Does that mean that like first-time buyers, is that an indicator that first-time buyers are just kind of totally sitting on the sidelines right now because of interest rates?
Well, yeah, they're the most impacted. If you're paying cash, you're making some interest on your money, and it's like, great. If I'm interest rate sensitive, is more as the entry level buyer. So we sold an entry level house. We listed it for $620. We sold it for $650, and we had two buyers. One was a first time buyer, but they inherited a lot of money, so they're getting a small loan. Okay, so good for them. And the other was someone that sold an investment property, wanted to buy another investment property. When some of the high end, it will skew the numbers, but it just means the people with money and resources are moving here. And then I looked at this little thing. I forget which company provided these statistics, but it went median price December 21 versus 22 by county. So San Luis Obispo County, the median price, according to this source, was up 13.7%. Okay. Santa Barbara County up 9.8%. So it sounds like we did better than Santa Barbara. Kern County, 7%, Monterey County, 3%. When people look at real estate, that's the localism you're talking about, John, how the markets are local. San Luis Obispo has done really well in relation to other counties. And that's what we've seen for a long time. and even more so now that people are more mobile. But that's it. So we're seeing that part of the market doing quite well.
Okay, so I'm not going to tell you what happened in Templeton last year.
No, you can't do that.
I can't.
No, you got.
you
Now you
can,
tell us.
but yeah.
Yeah, you're such a.
So let's just take
Tease.
Templeton. Templeton home prices were up 28% compared to last year, selling for a median price of $924,000. On average, homes in Templeton sell after 28 days on the market, compared to 33 last year. That's surprising.
If you've been around a little while, say what's the median price on a home in Templeton? Over $900,000.
Unbelievable.
In a
I grew up in Templeton.
in a market that's about to
mind-blowing.
crash. Is that what we're going to quote? No,
That's a strong word.
Now listen to the last sentence
Yeah.
here. There were 6 homes sold in December, down from 12 last year. So the one thing I studied in college in my stats class was are the numbers big enough to be relevant? You know, and we
Significant.
just don't have a sample size
Yeah.
that's big enough. But that's the information I uncovered because Jeff asked me to look at different markets.
Don't blame that on Jeff.
Yeah, no, I got to blame someone, Jeff. Okay, so give me another community.
Arroyo Grande.
Morro Bay.
Yeah, the scenic coast is going to be the
Morro Bay.
same.
Yeah.
It's such a small data set.
Price is up 4% to 900,000,
Jeez.
and selling in 30 days compared to 34 last year. Now, almost every community sold for more days than the year before, but Morro Bay was a few less days. Yeah.
How many properties?
Again,
Yeah,
Again,
right.
didn't say on Morro
come
Bay.
on.
But,
I can
but look,
tell you.
it can't be many.
Yeah, it's 12. Like
Yeah,
it's
right.
going to be a
so
tiny
so the
number.
sample size is
6.
6. There we go.
6.
Okay.
Well, how you have last month's numbers there?
Yeah.
Our listeners like to hear, their community's numbers. Rattle off a few different cities here in the Central Coast and see.
Okay, so these that we track, mostly single family and condos, not like land. So Morro Bay 6, 802,000 was the price. Los Osos we had 7, $872,000 was the price. Los Osos that's an entry level market in
And that's
our
for the month.
That's
of
for the
December.
month.
December
Not it-
2022.
I was given yearly, so this
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
month. from
Yeah,
now.
28 days on the market. San Luis had 19 closed at 892. Okay, that's relatively low. 40 days on the market, so half of normal. Yeah, 40 days versus like 90.
Yeah.
Avila just had 3. We expect that 1.6 was the average. Pismo had 8. Last year they had 11. The price those was average of $1.2 million versus $1.090 last year. 30 days on the market, 29. Grover Beach had only 2. That's really low for Grover Beach. Wow. 761, another entry level market. Arroyo Grande at $1,195,000, 13 homes. $1,195,000 in Arroyo Grande. That had the highest average sales price. That's crazy. Napomo $1,059,000 in Napomo. Average sales price.
And that's
How
an
many
entry level
houses?
community.
That was 19. So that's a pretty good sample size.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Tascadero had 25 at $7.75 million, $751,000. Paso had 10 at $658 average. Templeton 1.1 million. Cayucas had 2 at $1.4 million. Average days on the market 265. Some of those take a long time.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a small sample. size.
Cayucas prices year over year up 31%. You got to love that, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, you live in
But you had to wait.
Where do you live, John?
Yeah.
But you had to be on the market 7 months to get that. That's where all-
The elation on John's face was hard to not even see in our podcast.
Time for a shot.
He's an elitist. Yeah. Oh, is it time to take a shot? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess in summary going forward, I mean, John, you nailed it on the head. There's a couple of things we'll keep an eye on. Inventory, which there just doesn't seem to be much that's going to drive it up. So that's a good tenor for steady prices, which people like. And then interest rates, which, Jay, who knows? They'll likely continue up, right?
Yeah.
But we made a bet, 5-6 months ago.
Yeah,
It's
I want to
coming
see where
June.
that ends up. I don't know. Somebody wrote that down.
I had the highest number. I do remember that.
you're
I'm
probably
Mr.
gonna
I'm
take
Mr.
it.
Negative, right?
Yeah.
We got 6 months to go, guys.
Yeah, I know. It's early. It's early. So,
And I think there, the verbiage on the street is that we are going to get a rebound May, June, and maybe even earlier, a bounce back on the interest rate. It's going up and it's going to come down. So what happens when it does come down? Like say it comes back down to 5, there's going to be a flurry. So if you're out there and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to wait for interest rates to come down before I buy a house. Holy smokes. Do you know how much more competition you're going to have? How many offers are going to be made on the same house that you're looking at?
Well, anecdotally, we can just sense it. Like, so in December, we had a lot of showings. We wrote offers on properties that, some of them, one of them made an adjustment from like $1,850,000 to $1,775,000 because the fire insurance was expensive. We'll see what all this rain does. Is that going to change fire insurance? No, never mind. So,
once insurance goes up, it never
stays
comes
up.
down.
You insurance guys, yeah. And then once we got to that price, we got one offer, two, then we got three. We sold it, full price. Same thing with another house. So we're seeing more foot traffic for sure. More buyers out looking. So will that continue? Who knows? And that was before the first year, which is usually when it starts to pick up. So it was a little bit earlier this year. So we'll see what that means.
So why'd the feds raise the rates?
To hedge inflation.
To hedge inflation. And inflation was running at what when they started doing this?
9-ish? Did it get up to 9?
I mean, the high
that was
point,
before.
The high point probably got it up into the 9s, almost 10.
Mm-hmm.
My Social Security bump was 8.7% this year. Thank you very much.
But you already paid for that, right?
I already paid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then, a month ago, it's down in the 7s. And I read this morning, inflation, 6.5.
Wow.
So
that's the rate of inflation versus last year.
December over December.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's slowing.
So if it continues to slow, if they used increased rates to bring inflation down, when they need to stimulate the economy to get it back going again, what are they going to do?
Bring it down.
So, I mean, I would love for everyone for rates to come down. And yet, I was reminded today by your friend Mike Ferry that interest rates in the 6s are not high.
For home purchasing.
For home
And
purchasing.
they're not high for rates of return either. If you're borrowing money from or investing in any other vehicle.
The average rate of return for the last, 40 or 50 years, we talked about this a few months ago, is just under 8, 7.81 or 8.
You said rate of return. You meant mortgage rates.
Mortgage rates.
Mortgage rates. Yeah. No, they're historically, they're still really good. No one ever thought you got to 3.
They're really good. But to your point, Hal.
It's like buying a car.
Yeah.
We got spoiled.
Yeah.
I mean, you're spoiled at 3%.
Oh, I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one knew that.
As somebody who bought during that time, I may never buy another house because my expectations are at that area.
And that's what's going to be problematic in the future. Like everybody that's sitting on 3%, boy, are they ever going to sell? I mean, they're going to have a strong need to sell to buy a house at a different interest rate, and or they either want to move, they've got to downsize, they need a single level. There's always going to be people that need to buy, but I think that might pent up even more inventory. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, the house I'm at 3.25%. I'll never sell it.
You're rate locked.
Yeah, I'll move out of it and put a tenant in it, cover the rent, and then I don't need the equity in the house to buy the next one. If that's the case, then I'll keep it. Why would I ever sell it?
Our job is to try to help buyers and sellers, and I think the one thing that might help, because I think having a stable market with not big increases or decreases is healthy. The people that do well in this market have a lot of equity. Yeah. So the one I sold for $1.8 million, it was people who are getting up in age. They don't need that much house. The one for 2.2, getting up in age, don't need that much house. The one in the entry level home was a move up for a buyer. So we don't see as much of that. That's where there'll be inventory, and those people that sell are winners, and those people that buy and get in those houses, because if they've been in those homes for a long time, those are usually desirable neighborhoods, and people love to get into that sort of thing.
I think in a few years, the traditional move-ups that you're talking about, Hal, that many of us made where we sold our current house to buy our newest house, which was usually a move-up, a little bigger, a little nicer, whatever. I think what'll happen going forward for those folks that will make that move, like Jay said, they'll probably keep their first house and move up to their second house.
Yeah,
by using the equity,
sure,
in their first house, but not selling it.
Yeah, that could limit it.
That could, as long as they've got a 30-year mortgage at 3.25%, and they got 25 years left on it, they're probably not going to give that sucker up.
And we are, believe it or not, as high as prices have gotten here, because it's such a wonderful place, we are a move down market for out of town buyers that come from more affluent areas, more expensive areas. So Bay Area people coming down and paying cash because they've still got a lot of equity, that sort of thing. So anyway, it's an interesting time. The The market's pretty easy to see right now. I think it's not going to be as rapid a change as we've seen. I think it's going to be more stable and at just a different normalized pace, I would say.
As inflation lowers, the rates are going to come down that's going to create a little bit of a flurry of people who missed the threes. They're not going to miss the fives.
Right.
So there's going to be a rush when that happens. So that's just something I would pay attention to if I were a buyer.
Yeah.
I really would.
I think I just want to touch on one more thing that both of you have touched on already, and that's San Luis Obispo County. And when you look at the data that you just shared, comparative pricing in the nearby counties, and you hear Jay talking about the headlines of major media outlets. I think one of the things that is going on right now is all this news. and the news is about what's going on in the country as a whole or in the state as a whole. And our county, do you pick that up? I'm knocking on wood, Jeff. Our county is really a little bit insulated from some of those mega numbers. And we seem to do a little bit better here, handling these rough waters. I love it here.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. Happy everything. All right, guys, thank you very much. That wraps up our January 2023 market update. Thank you, everybody. Guys, we'll talk to you next time.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Hal Sweasey podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. It comes out every Monday, so check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on halsweasey.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. halsweasey.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the Hal Sweasey Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805-781-3750.
Hal Sweasey is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 01111-911. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.